Today I have a very special guest, all the way from America, Stacee Lang, better known as the Wealth Producer. Stacee, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to Bayloric TV. You talk about wealth. People like to talk to people who know about wealth and money. And tell us a little bit more about you.
Okay, well, I like that you started off with saying the wealth producer because wealth comes in many different forms, especially about this topic that we're talking about with my role model, my mentor that we'll get to discuss a little later. I got that title because I work with people internationally to help them bring their dreams to reality. And I do that because I'm a very successful international grant writer. And I create funding and I get grant funding for people to be able to operate and expand their businesses. And I'm passionate about, my passion is the passion of others. I really believe in taking the underexposed and underappreciated and making it priceless.
Fantastic. So tell us what got you into that.
As a college student, a single mother at that time, I was trying to get through college and I found out that there was some grant money available for me to pay for some books. And once I got some books for what we call free books, then I was off to the races. And for the past 20 years, I've written over now 100 million in grant funds. And it all started with me being in pursuit, a hot pursuit of higher education.
Damn, 100 million.
Yes, and counting.
And counting. You're wealth producers. You're going to keep on producing.
Absolutely.
Did you actually know that the name Bayloric, actually the name Baylor means a producer, somebody that comes up with the goods? So
Oh,
yeah, so from one producer to another, congratulations.
thank you. And you as well.
Thank you. So tell me a bit more about the people that you've worked with.
I've worked with a lot of political people. I started off with students trying to get through school who couldn't afford school, getting student sponsorships from Catholic charities and some of the smaller organizations. And then I went into larger places like in Atlanta. We here in the U.S., the state of Atlanta. I worked with Department of Rehabilitation and hospitals. Then it became a part of my job as an employer. Um, Having to build more programs. So then there's grant money. You have to get programmed for substance abuse and mental health. And then I just started writing and I continued because then it was a part of my job. Well, then as I got more mature and understood the power of grant writing, then I retired full time from being, I have a master's in clinical studies and I'm in my fourth chapter of my dissertation for my PhD in psychology. So I left the clinical field. I still teach. I'm a professor at a university here part time. But when you start meeting people who really have dreams and goals, I've worked with political people, Cook County Clerk Dorothy Brown, our current president, Barack Obama. I was his first intern when he was U.S. Senate in 96. While in school, I became his intern and been working with his campaign ever since. A lot of our political leaders, the Magic Johnson schools, he has for poverty around and low income and Bridgegate programs. So I've worked with a lot of the Lisa Rays. I've done with her, gym, Lisa Ray Gyms, her girls, because she has a wonderful mentoring programs for young girls, and quite a few other people politically and all. But I work with the everyday, ordinary person like yourself and me that just want to get a message out and have a dream that they can achieve and help some other people. I work with all the heads of organizations who create the masses and they help hundreds of people. So in turn, by me helping one, I really get to kind of be the hidden hand to help millions.
What does that make you feel like when you contribute so heavily to something such as a project being funded, a dream becoming a reality? What does that do for Stacee?
One of my clients wanted a nursing home in Texas, and her passion was because her mom was mistreated. in another nursing home and inevitably lost her life because of bad treatment. And to get her facility established and get her a nonprofit organization, and I mean, because we do the whole thing from establishment, business plan, the 501c3, we do the entire kit and caboodle, the curriculum, we develop everything. When people come to me, they just have a dream. They don't know how to get those fundings. That's not their dream. That's my dream. That's my responsibility. But when it happens and they get a $6 or $7 million grant and it continues because they followed the system, oh, it wakes you up. It keeps you up. Sometimes I'm 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm trying to finish someone's goal. And I know when they get it. And I only take certain clients because some people just want money. If you just want money, I'm not the person. But if you really have a dream and you really have a goal, I'm that person. I'm the person, kind of the dream maker behind the plan.
So, pardon the expression, but you would say you were born to do this.
I was.
Or you are. Not you was, you are. You're born to do it. It's evident.
Wow, thank you so much.
Well, there's only thanking. It is what it is. Clearly, you're having a significant impact on the people that you're working with, the organizations. A lot of people got to thank you. And sometimes as the hidden hand, we give out a lot, but sometimes we don't get that much back to replenish the hard work that we put in. How do you replenish your resources after you've given so much out, which is quite evident you have done?
I think it's pretty much like any athlete. It's a sport. And every time you win, you are invigorated. It's almost like a salesperson. Every time Michael Jordan scored, it was like, woo! He could have been tired all through practice and rehearsal. But as soon as he hit the score, then he's ready for the next game. And it's like, okay, I can hit that next practice. So my goal, every time I win a grant, every time I get a person established and I tell them, oh, you're going the wrong way. Or people are doing things out of pocket that they shouldn't be doing. And I could tell them, just sometimes you just need just a little bit. And if I can give them just a little bit and tweak what they're doing currently, it opens up a whole new world. And that revitalizes and recharges me. Then I know that my purpose is real.
Clearly, you've discovered early on what your purpose is. How are you able to understand what your purpose is and then be able to walk in it with faith, which clearly you have done?
I actually was forced into it, I have to say. I wrote out of necessity because purpose will call you and it will make you perform. So out of necessity, because if you have everything, then you have no need to reach. So as a parent going to school, necessity said, oh, you can do this. And even though grant writing wasn't what I wanted to do, I tried many other things. And I kept trying to steer away from grant writing because I really just didn't think people appreciated or valued it. So the more I steered away, the more it pulled. It followed me and hunt me down.
Yes.
And when people needed something, I couldn't have a conversation with the person without saying, you know, you can get some grant funding for that. And it just naturally flowed, but it wasn't by design, or I knew that that's what I was to do. I'm always in awe at my response to the grant writing and people's success.
That's amazing. You're fighting your life not to do something, and then you end up doing it anyway, and you're just so talented with it. When did you give up the fight? When did you say, you know what, this actually is for me? Stacey, I've got to start, I've got to really stop fighting this. I've got to just push on. When did you press on and stop the fight and press on?
I was working and building quite a few other people's business. I was working for other people.
Right.
And my mother and my daughter told me, your wealth producing is in your natural talent of writing. You need to write the grants. And I said, no, it's going to take up too much time. People don't appreciate it. I'm not being paid enough for it. And they said, but you do it naturally. I said, I still didn't want to do it. I just didn't feel it was appreciated. But then you have these people that I really love, know, and trust a tremendous amount. My higher education mentors, everybody pushed me back to the grant writing and said what a unique skill that is to look at a person's vision and be able to say, you know, if you just change this a little bit, you could get a million, or really a 2.5 million is about the minimum of a grant I would write for someone. So you can get a $2.5 million grant. Now I do some 25,000, some 250,000, but that's just so people can get their feet wet and know that it's real. But once they get it, it's no turning back. Once you do what you're supposed to do, I teach people, how do you have a nonprofit and a for-profit? What do you do with both of them? Nonprofit doesn't mean you don't make money. So it's an education piece. So I go through that whole education piece and talk about how lucrative a nonprofit business is, how you use your nonprofit to hire your for-profit, how you're able to do speaking engagements and travel and tour and educate and enlighten people around the world, all based off of a mission to make us have a better society in which we live.
Okay, you're doing a tremendous job, and I can't stress that enough. But I can't also not ask you, or not ask you is not the word question, really is the opposition you would have faced in when writing these grants. What were the opposition, or what were the things you had to overcome to be able to be such a good grant writer?
You know, I think it's kind of like if it's in you, it's in you. For me, in school, when we got assignments that say you have to do a 20 or 30 page paper and people start sweating and they have to do it, you know, a month ahead of time and they see it, I'm the person that starts the night before. I just have that gift. Oh, I got to write. I got to do a little research. I mean, it just makes sense to me.
Right.
Now, things that make sense to me, I can literally put it together. But I can tell you with grant writing, one of the number one keys is you never ever be unwilling to meet what the funder has. If a funder is saying we are giving multi-millions of dollars for a nursing home that services ages this age to this age in this area that has right now we're dealing with Alzheimer's is really big, and there's another disorder that I'm dealing with as well. It slips my mind at this second, but it's also energy. If you say energy, I know that they got billions, and I mean billions of dollars for any energy program, for creative energy, innovative programs, and you want a nursing home and they're only doing artistic or Alzheimer's, then I'm going to create an Alzheimer's nursing home that is energy efficient, that has solar panels and the windmills in the back, and it is designed such state of the art facility that even that is totally green facility, and it draws the community to it, and you have all refurbished and all energy efficient doors and windows and lights, and this is why, and we're powered by solar panels. Why? Because the Department of Energy, and I'm going to add some veterans in there because we have veterans training, and you're giving billions of dollars to find entrepreneurship for veterans. Well, we need to hire some veterans and have a training program. So now I just took you up to about a $30 million project as opposed to a $2 million project. So that's how I operate to be able to get the grant funding.
That's creativity.
With me.
That is creativity, is it not? That
it is.
Wow, that's what you call thinking outside the box. That's truly what they call thinking outside the box. So, but as I was saying, back to the opposition. What opposition have you faced in doing the grant writing?
Most of my opposition would come from the client themselves. It's not the writing. It would come from someone saying, I don't want energy efficient. I don't want to do it. I just want this building right here on Main Street, and I just want to have 18 beds. Well, they're not funding 18 beds. They're funding 32 beds. I've had people say, no, that's too much. I don't want that much grant money. I don't want it to consume me. I just want a little bit. So I tell them, well, go get a little grant writer. Go get someone else. I'm not the person.
Wow.
normally comes from the person that's their dream, because people come with a dream and they say, oh, I really want so bad just to help this population. But if you're not flexible and willing to meet, I mean, the government is giving you money to provide a service, so you got to be willing to provide that service, and you got to be a little flexible.
Is that not to do with the mentality of the people?
Absolutely. Some people really believe that, if you ever watched the movie Shark Tank and they give them an offer, and then one guy, he was so close to winning, and he said, well, you'll just work for us and we'll give you a salary. Well, right now, the gentleman was broke. You weren't able to pay any bills. You were barely surviving, and not to sell your soul, but you have to recognize opportunity and be willing to trade off. And it's okay if you drop the title, I own this, versus I work for it, as long as you get your goals accomplished. Some people will say, I don't want the government in my business. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, everything we're doing is censored. Are you kidding me? And then they'll have a complete Facebook page with their entire family and all of their history on it. And they say they don't want anybody in their business. It's amazing.
So when they talk about the government being involved in it, I mean, it's kind of like well, you're getting the money from that source, but you don't want the government involved. How does that logically make sense?
Well, it's kind of like our children, and they'll say, can I have $100? I want. Well, what are you planning on doing with it? And then if I'm sending you to the mall for a winter coat and boots, and you come back with a MP3 player or something else, well, then you didn't spend the money appropriately, so I won't give you any more and trust you with that. But if you come back with what you said you were going to use it for, then I'm more likely to give you more because you passed the audit. And that's pretty much how I explain it to my clients. If you do what you say you're going to do, then you can continue to do it, and it can expand.
What's been the biggest mistake for people that write grants, do you think, in your experience?
They only write one grant to one source. They create a whole program based off of, like, I have a person that does, she has a addiction program for mothers and children in an apartment setting. Well, she only wanted SAMHSA grants. That's for the substance and alcohol abuse grant. She only wanted that. She wasn't willing to go to Veterans, Department of Energy, Department of Housing, Department of Education. There are thousands of other opportunities, even more, tens of thousands, and she wasn't willing to go to the foundation. She had one mindset. Even locally here in Chicago, one of my friends had a beautiful home, a building for single mother and children. You had to have 3 or more children. Well, she got her first $2 million grant. She was excited, and I kept saying, you need to get other funding sources. Both of those, they only wanted a single funding source. So when those funds went dry, then their business went belly up. They couldn't catch it. They had no plan B and no sustainability plan.
Why do you think that you're a success in grant writing?
Because I believe in it. And I believe in anything. It is my belief that anything you really believe in, you can be successful in it. Right. If you believe it can happen, if you really believe, and the reason my belief level is so high is because I experienced it. Experience has a large impact on our belief system.
Okay, so in all of your grant writing up to this point, what's been the biggest grant funding challenge that you've had to overcome and has given you the most doubt before writing it?
I gotta really be honest. When writing a grant, it's never the proposal package or writing that I find challenge. My challenge is never in what I call the hard material, and that's the actual product. Right. See, I believe that if you write a grant, it should be so passionate, because I've been on both sides where you fund it as well as a reviewer. Right. The words on a grant, the paper, they should be so real, because you're competing among hundreds, that my words would jump up off the paper and kiss the reviewer or grab him by the collar and say, hey, I'm real. This is the one. And you have to create life in those words. And that, to me, is almost like a musician composing a symphony. My Bach or my Monet. That is mine, the writing. When there is a interference, it never comes from the document or the instrument. It comes from outside sources.
It's interesting. Just listening to you, you remind me of a Baptist or a Pentecostal preacher. Right, and when they're on fire and you're sitting down in the church and you're listening to them, and you get that spirit where you listen to what the preacher's saying and you say, amen, I agree with what you're saying. Then it's almost like you just doing that in your world with being the wealth producer, and you're like talking through the paper to the actual person, the person who's going to accept the grant, going, yeah, I agree with that. And they say amen, and when they say amen, you receive the money. That's the sort of impression I get there. How close am I to it that I'm
right on the head? That's exactly it. I get an amen for that.
Amen. Okay, so I was very interested because there's a campaign that you're on with at the moment to do with Bill Cosby, and I wanted to know a lot more about this. Tell me a bit more about Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby is the American dad. He's the American dad. He is every fatherless child, for every child with a father, for every young man who tried to be a father. In my era growing up, in the early 80s is when the early 80s is when the Cosbys came out, and going from grade school to high school and knowing that the Huxtables existed, that we weren't just good times, that we really could be professional and educated and have wonderful families, because experience, as I said earlier, I believe in grant writing because of experience. I believe in holistic families because of the experience of Bill Cosby and the Huxtables. That is the American family, and not just for African Americans. However, primarily that is my focus, but for all families. He was voted #1 dad in the TV Guide across all dads. I mean, I like quite a bit of them. Lever to Beaver, quite a few of those dads, but Bill Cosby was the one.
Undisputed dad of dads.
That's right.
I mean, what did Bill Cosby do for the Black American psyche? Because I know in the UK and from a Caribbean background, Bill Cosby had a tremendous effect on our psyche, because we were able to see a family together. We were able to see the one thing that we saw as a young child growing up, the how a child was interacting with their parents, and when they did something wrong, there was not a big strap, there wasn't a belt coming out. The child wasn't getting beaten, but instead the father or the mother would be together in disciplining that child in a manner which we did not have to do around punishing that child with a belt or any sort of beating, which was always left in my eyebrow. And I was asked, Mum, Dad, why is this happening? Why is it that Bill Cosby can talk to me? Why can't Bill Cosby be like my dad? Why can't he do it to me? Why can't Dad, be that way with me? And my mum turned around and said to me, what Bill Cosby does is his household, is up to him. But at this minute in time, you've done something wrong, and I'm going to put a whooping on you for it. So how did that affect the American psyche?
It also, as you said, it affected us. You and I now in our era,
yes,
we put our children in people. We see them differently as little people, because we learn. Sometimes our adults, and even my family and my mother and all, they were affected as well. But in my era, in my generation, that generation was able to, that's where all that time out and all of those things start to come, and to create relationships with our children and be able to understand them. He helped us, really, he took us through a psychological shift, a consciousness raise. He took us through It was almost like a metaphysical transformation watching the Cosby Show. It's such a spiritual enlightenment thing that most people try to overlook. But what he did was he transformed a whole generation. And he took us from, he helped us become more aware and enlightened in how to properly communicate, how to find humor, how to enjoy children growing up. And it wasn't just hard times or they were a burden. They became a part of how to have a family. If you didn't have a good role model, he gave us the good role model.
Absolutely. But how did that era, the whole the Bill Cosby Show, the Cosby family, how did the Cosby family translate to Black Americans? I mean, did they think, oh, I want my house to be like that, or was it, yeah, that's how we'd ultimately like the American dream to be, but you know, we can't make that because it's all sort of television stuff. We can't do that.
He did many things. Let's start with, for the American family, having a predominantly African American cast. Then, and we weren't in a servant position. We were in a very powerful position with that casting. We had a doctor, we had a lawyer, we had children going to college. We had some disobedience, but not a great deal of it. We had parents working from home, so that's okay to be successful and educated. I'm successful, I'm educated, and I work from home. It's okay to be able to do that. It was it was beyond the reason for my saying protect the legacy of Bill Cosby, because even now I have a 5-year-old, I have a 12-year-old, and I have a 25-year-old. So I have somebody in every generation. I still have my children watch the Cosby Show. I still let them see what a real American family can look like. My 5-year-old can quote some things from Bill Cosby. Now, that example that has lasted for generations, that's the legacy that I want to be able to go back to. Not some tainted thing that he's involved in and people are creating about him. The legacy of Bill Cosby, the fact that I went to school because of A Different World. When I saw Jaleesa on A Different World as a single mother in college, I said, well, I can do that. It was real. But prior to that, it wasn't real to me. If you had a child, college was out. It wasn't an option.
Right.
But once you've seen a real example, not just me, there are thousands upon thousands of people who give credence to Bill Cosby for their furthering of education, their being able to work through difficult situations, their being able to mend and create happy families and relationships, and be entrepreneurs. Bill Cosby he was an adamant entrepreneur. He lived the dream. And look how many doors he's opened for people. The majority of the people from not just A Different World, but the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and In Living Colors, all of those fun but they all gave us value. They all put a positive image on the big screen for millions of people to see African Americans in a positive light. How dare we not love and honor the legacy that he has created for us? That's our legacy. That's a part of us, who we are.
Bill Cosby has done a lot of amazing things. Tell us more about the man and what he's done outside of the Cosby Show for African America, for example.
His helping with the black colleges, the HBCUs. I mean, his contribution there in the funds and is just tremendous. He's been doing that now for over 3 decades or more, actually, that he has been very heavily involved in black education and higher education, as well as careers. Do you know how many people, including like Alicia Keys? Alicia Keys at 4 years old was on the Cosby Show, sitting on Bill Cosby's lap, learning and playing a role. So many people got their stardom right there on the Bill Cosby Show, that have gone on to be great stars, not just the key people like Raven Simone and all of them, but and Theo, those who, and we call them by their stage names. It's still Theo Huxtable. It's still, they still have those names.
Rudy, yeah.
Claire and all of them. So the light that he has shined on so many people, he has humanitarian awards just across the states, all the people that he has helped. And people don't even know the hidden things that he's done, the contributions, the single mothers that come forth and say where he's helped with their rents and bought homes for people. See, when you are a true giver, you're able to give, and the media doesn't know about all of your giving. Everybody doesn't know. The Kennedy Center honors. He's been honored all over the world. I think, what was it, in '98 when he received the Kennedy Awards. He has the Medal of Freedom. The babies, the twins, Winnie and Nelson, acknowledging the Mandelas. The one of his daughters had the twins, and he just is just such a phenomenal being. And he incorporated everything into. He allowed laughter and comedy and impromptu and improv, but his impact on our world is just unforgettable. And we wouldn't be who we are.
What would have happened if Bill Cosby had not invested in those universities and those colleges?
That is very good. I was going to say, we wouldn't be who we are today had he not. Many people who, some of the expansions, some of the program, and not just for the students, but the educators, the professors, being a professor myself right now, and actually contributing to a lot of those same universities, following in the footsteps, having a path of someone to follow that led an example. Had he not, so many people wouldn't have gotten scholarships. So many people. I have, because I do a lot of educational grants, people get full-blown scholarships from, and he also funds a lot of people who come from hardship and broken homes that get from high school all the way to doctorates paid for Cosby's scholarship.
So paint it another way to me, because it's all well and good when something's up and running and established, we kind of forget the person that's helped them get there in the first place. It's very easy to do that. When the success is there, people forget, oh yeah, well, because Bill Cosby did that, and it's up, and people are now kind of like taking the fruit from the tree. But let's step back a second. Like I said, if Bill Cosby had not contributed and put that money in, like he did, well, where would these places really have been? Give me a diagnosis of what we would have been seeing now had Bill Cosby not been around.
Had Bill Cosby not been around, we would probably be about 30 years set back in time, because evolution is going to happen. You just, like right now, we would be further evolved, but they say we don't have a leader in place right now, somebody willing to take those steps. Bill Cosby went out on a limb. He didn't film the Cosby was not filmed in Hollywood, so he didn't allow it to get tainted. How many people are upset about that and waited for their chance to taint that now? You wouldn't allow Hollywood to taint the Cosby Show. So it was filmed in New York. It was filmed in real life. Had he not contributed to the colleges, how many doctors and lawyers and grant writers and educators would not exist because of him? Being one individual, I know that I have touched millions of lives because of my work behind the scene. What would happen if I wasn't? That's the same. If I wasn't in existence, I wasn't able to create the nursing homes or the substance abuse homes, or even those who are doing speaking engagements around the world. Well, it would have impacted the millions of lives that I have been able to touch as a single individual. Bill Cosby putting us on television, making it okay, then his legacy, him taking a chance and willing to go out, we would be 30 years back trying to get where we wouldn't be able to Skype right now. It would have impacted us. Our mentality would have to have gone back 3 generations. So it would be my 5-year-old waiting right now to do what we're doing, because we'll be looking for someone to be a leader, a figure, a way maker, open a door. We would need that, but because the doors were open, Will Smith exists because Bill Cosby opened the doors. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, all of that came because he opened the door. He's a way maker.
Do you think the black community accept Bill Cosby as a leader?
I think there's opposition there, and as a whole, yes. But I think we as a people have been trained and programmed to look for one leader instead of being the change that we want to see. Instead of taking account, you as a public figure and a media, and you're using your platform to be the change that you want to see. I am using my platform to be the change that I want to see. I want to see you in business. I want to see you in a big studio, whatever your dreams are. I want to see it real and come true for you. So I am doing what I know how to do with my gifts, which is what Bill Cosby did. His gifts, if I could take it to media, I mean, he had a phenomenal platform. So he used it. He used that platform like we're doing today. So we have to be the change. Do our people, the African American people, see him as a leader? I think we have been programmed by media propaganda and numerous amount of outlets coming in and changing our thought process. And the haves and the have-nots, I think our society is battling right now.
Bill Cosby. What I hear a lot of people saying, a lot of people via the media saying, well, Bill Cosby, when he started off, he really appealed to to white America. He got his break through white America, and now that the chickens are coming home to roost now, he's running back to black America, which I find kind of difficult to understand because of all the work he's done with the colleges and the universities. So can you break this down for me and kind of bring some sort of light on this?
When I started writing grants, I wrote them primarily for white America. When I worked at Wishart Hospital or Grady Hospital and a lot of other facilities, it was for white America. And it's kind of a psyche that our people actually had to go through. Sure, he got to start there because they didn't find any harm in what he was doing per se. We allowed the doors to be open, and for some reason our people really have a thought process that says if it's not white stamped and approved, it doesn't hold credence to the masses. We want it to hold accountability. Mm-hmm. So once you get the stamp, and he had to go through a process, but in the process of going, just like they're saying about Obama, look at all the changes he has brought about. Some good, some bad, some would oppose, some would not. But the changes that he has created for our people as a whole, yes, we can. When he comes home here to Chicago and he faces opposition, you as the individual have to know, in my Cosby voice, you have to know your real purpose. Whether you're stepped by white America, black America, or accept, he's not running around and looking for acceptance or some chickens coming home to roost. He is doing what he was designed to do. He is living his purpose, and there will be opposition in purpose. When I said I had to start in white America, that's because that's where the door was open. But it had nothing to do with, I didn't seek him out, I was sought out. He didn't seek that approval out, he was sought out. So when the person who puts you on a stage, or you think this is what made Bill Cosby special because white America loved and appreciated him, no, that's not what made, that wasn't his purpose. His purpose, because white America, that's not the white American dad. That's not who we saw that changed our generation. That's our dad, and we know that. So when I say we need 1 million people to like that page, 1 million people have been impacted. That's just a tip of an iceberg that have been impacted by the profound knowledge, love, and caring. He loved the people more than the people loved themselves. That he was willing to carry the cross and be sacrificed. He's being sacrificed right now, and he's carrying it. And there is no question the legacy of Bill Cosby has created who I am. That is my legacy. That is my #1 TV dad of all dads across the world. That is the one.
and that's what motivates you still till today, and to have the campaign that you're doing now, for
Yeah,
no doubt.
absolutely. And I put my name and my face on it because I want people to know, don't celebrate and nod me in the background. Let the world know that you celebrate me. Let the world know the impact that I've had on your life. And that's how I feel for Bill Cosby. I want the world to know that I am because he is. And because of the legacy and the path that he created, it impacted my life, and not just my life, but my children's children. That's generational wealth.
Wow. So this stuff that's happening now with Bill Cosby. Now, there are some theories as to why it's happening. One of the theories is because he was trying to run for president.
That is one of the theories.
The other theory is that he was trying to buy a network.
They also said because his time had come due. It's like give Caesar his dues. They expected Bill Cosby. He wouldn't play the ball game the way they wanted. He wouldn't film his show in Hollywood. So we will allow you to go this far, but we will take it because you didn't pay Caesar your dues. You didn't do your part. Are we frozen?
No, we're not frozen. I'm here.
Okay. I'm hearing a feedback. That's why
Yeah, you get feedback. That's of no surprise now, because it's some good stuff. So, the whole thing now with Bill Cosby and him not wanting to film in Hollywood, and then wanting to insist on him filming in Hollywood. What would happen if Bill Cosby had filmed in Hollywood instead of New York? What would the Cosby Show have looked like?
the Cosby's would not have been Cosby Show. It would have been Hollywood show. It would have been. Uh, he wouldn't have been able to have the creative freedom of expression. He would not have been able to allow people to come on set. History shows that all the improv that he had, it would have been more scripted. It would have been more step it, fetch it type of show, as opposed to, and he wouldn't have had to go through all the strife either. Had he went to Hollywood, I mean, they would have alleviated some of the trials and tribulations. So it wasn't an easy choice for him to make. But he did not give up his freedom. He did not. He received awards for the Presidential Medal of Freedom. He would have given up freedom of choice, freedom of creative writers, which is another, like, I don't work for any establishment to write grants because I would have to give up freedom of choice on who and what I work for and write for.
You're your own lady.
I am.
So, okay, tell us more about this. Tell us more about this page. Is this a Facebook page?
Yes, we are on Facebook. We are on LinkedIn. It is called Protect the Legacy of Bill Cosby. Protect the Legacy of Bill Cosby. We ask people to like it and share it. And that's really where we're starting right now. And then on February 19th, we're going to have a virtual million cyber stand for Bill Cosby on February 19th. And a few people try to, you may see a little protect the name or something, but we want to literally stand up and be accounted for. And we want to, as a whole, come together.
Have you ever met Bill Cosby?
Say it again.
Bill Cosby.
Have you, and then
have you ever met Bill Cosby?
No, never in person. No. But I believe that soon I just have to make that happen.
And if the Wealth Producer says it's going to happen, you bet your bottom dollar it's going to happen.
Thank you so much. I respect that.
Okay. Stacee, thank you so much for talking to Bayloric TV.
Thank you for having us. You've been a wonderful host.